For 9 years, Fire Emblem Heroes has stuck to a pretty set in stone seasonal banner schedule. We do have rotating and one-off themes, but we've always had spring, bridal, 2 summer lineups, Halloween, Christmas, New Year's, and then Valentine's. It's not that crazy that we're finally swapping one of those out, but I never would have guessed one of these summer banners would be the first to go. I didn't think less swimsuits was an option for a gacha game. Anyway, summer is cancelled and school's back in session because it seems like we're replacing the second summer banner with a sports festival theme. Undokai, or Sports Day, is an actual celebration of physical fitness in Japan. In Fae, they seem to be holding a fitness festival, and the outfits are styled after 3 houses' loungewear attire. While the English banner name is Cheerleaders with a space, I am going to refer to these guys as fitness alts. I think that's a little more open-ended than, say, like sports alts. Our fitness enthusiasts for this banner are Coach Eikthyrnir, Tharja, Eik, and Harmonic Female Byleth and Corrin. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss journal playstyle and build ideas. The 4-star focus unit is Fitness Eikthyrnir. You can get him at 4 or 5-star rarity. Coach Eik is back to being a cavalry base unit and is green this time, so you can complete your full color spectrum of vaults. Eik has 50 HP, 49 attack, 16 speed, 49 defense, and 31 res. He has attack and defense super boons, very min-maxed, very high defense, no surprises here. For old skills, Eik has attack and defense clash 3 and the more impressive Preempt Screech. This skill was only on Mythic Elm and it's a Beast Feud C skill, so you can neutralize the enemy's support auras. It also grants -1 instant cooldown before attacking. Eikthyrnir's weapon is Chiseled Antlers. At start of either phase, grant +6 attack and defense, drain cancel, and no panic to allies within 2 spaces. After start of turn skills trigger, Eik has his signature +3 field buff buffing gimmick. For himself, he has Kanto Distance +1 and Slaying. Eik will also get +16 to attack, defense, and res in combat, and is 50% DR piercing. Eikthyrnir will retain his Treachery True Damage, but you can now borrow field buffs from allies within 3 walls or columns. He receives Excel Flat DR equal to half the true damage amount. This is the 5th Eikthyrnir ult, so most people should know what he's all about by now. He gives +9 attack and defense, and he can get more true damage and flat DR if you give him speed and res field buffs. If you hate Nurgle, this ult also has Drain Cancel. Eikthyrnir's Mighty Growl special is a 5 cooldown special with 100% defense scaling. It has 40% DR for all hits taken, and it gives a free follow-up. Coach Eik has his OG flat attack and flat defense comparisons. If he's within 5 attack of the enemy, he inflicts -7 attack and defense on them. If he wins the defense check, then that's another -7 attack and defense. Last, for Eikthyrnir and allies within 3 walls or columns, he gives a fringe bonus effect that borrows field buffs from anyone on the map. He also gives instant cooldown before their first attack. For Eikthyrnir, you total up the highest field buff total on an ally and divide by 12. For allies, you divide by 18, and both cases will round down to get your instant cooldown amount. I've labeled the typical field buff totals at the bottom. For example, Eikthyrnir gives +9 attack and defense, so 18 total field buffs. 18 divided by 12 is 1 cooldown for Eik. Divided by 18 is also 1 cooldown for allies. Now if you go get a third +9 field buff, then you hit 27 total. Eikthyrnir would get -2 cooldown now, while allies still get -1. For the best scenario, if you get 4 +9 field buffs for a total of 36, then Eikthyrnir gets -3 instant cooldown and allies get -2 instant cooldown. Like his weapon, we've seen most of these mechanics before on past ults, but Coach Eik is able to borrow field buffs from anyone on the map. If he wins both stat checks, you inflict -14 attack and defense, and when this special procs, it's gonna hurt. For builds, if you want Eik to supply his own speed and res field buffs, you could run Rallies, Favor, Link, Wave buffs, etc. For a very cheap B skill, you could use speed and res Link. There are also the premium Hone Cavalry type C skills. Eikthyrnir can use Bellow for bread type cooldown or Outcry Dull for buff neutralization. Unfortunately, there are no speed and res variants, and I'm not sure we're ever going to get them. Now, generally speaking, you may just want to find a speed and res field buffing friend. If Eikthyrnir can get +9 to all 4 stats, then he would get -2 instant cooldown for himself. With Preempt Screech, that becomes -4, which will charge the Slaying Mighty Growl special immediately. Now, for the B slot, you could also use Impetus Guard for momentum cooldown. That can act as insurance cooldown, or if you want to replace Preempt Screech. It also has other good perks though, like its true damage and flat DR, plus its guard and scout effects. Eik will probably be getting doubled a lot, but if he can get to his free follow-up, then he may be able to finish off the enemy first. Now for an A slot upgrade, Excel or Clash 4 are fine, and Rival Break is the premier flat DR option. If you want to transform, you can use Attack and Defense Fortune. That would give some extra attack and defense debuffs with 30% DR for one hit, but generally the beast calves can still function without transforming. For beast skills, you could use Execution Breath. If you were to give Eikthyrnir Brave attacks, then maybe the extra cooldown could proc a second Mighty Growl on the quad. Patience is usable by Eikthyrnir, but you would need to go full speed investment. No rise above here either. For other C skills, Breath of Life can heal, or you could run something like Fatal Smoke to prevent healing. Eikthyrnir can also use Shadow Assist skills. Now for Sacred Seals, we have the new low attack and defense seal from the Tempest Trials. You could also use a Squad A seal for even more HP, and you can slot in Beast if you really want to transform. Overall, Fitness Eikthyrnir does Eikthyrnir things. He does come with a 5 cooldown special this time though, and Bro can charge it immediately if you give him full field buffs. Our next unit is Fitness Tharja, who is an interesting choice for a theme like this, but that's never stopped her before. Tharja is a colorless infantry mage this time, and she has 36 HP, 46 attack, 48 speed, 16 defense, and 47 res. She has an HP and speed super boon. For all skills, Tharja has the self-charging 40% DR Comet and the res comparing speed and res unrest. Tharja will get a lot of flat res to work with. Tharja's Dour Baton works for unit, allies within 3 spaces, and allies on the map with Anathema. Tharja gets plus 15 stats while allies get plus 5 stats. They neutralize all of the enemy's field buffs during combat. Last, you get instant cooldown before your first attack equal to the number of allies on the map with Anathema active. If you have 3 Anathema friends, Tharja can get -3 cooldown, allies can get a max of -2 cooldown, just like Coach Eik. For personal effects, Tharja gets Slang and bonus attack equal to her max special cooldown value times 4. Tharja also has 15 flat DR and full of follow-up effects. Last, she has the 100% potent condition. Tharja will grant Anathema with her A skill, so she's going to activate her weapon and give these buffs from anywhere on the map. Like Eikthyrnir, Tharja hands out instant cooldown. Unlike Coach, Tharja is fairly fast, and she has no follow-up and 100% potent. Take note that instead of true damage, Tharja is going to get bonus attack for better comet damage scaling, plus 16 attack is quite nice. Tharja's Long Dead A skill is very similar to her Attuned Alt A skill. It grants plus 9 flat stats. At the start of either phase, you get Anathema, Pulse Follow, and the True Charge status to allies within 3 spaces. Tharja has many conditions that rely on this X value, which is just the number of allies with Anathema active up to a max of 3. With 3 Anathema allies, Tharja would get a total of 9 true damage, 60% regular DR, 9 flat DR, and healing 9 HP after combat. With just 2 Anathema friends, Tharja would also disable enemy specials from activating during combat. That is a very good ability, especially since many specials hit very hard these days. Like Attuned Tharja, if you do not have regular DR piercing, then Fitness Tharja would be decently tanky. 76% DR total with Comet, and Tharja's gonna charge her own team specials even further thanks to Pulse Follow. Her team will also fly into battle with True Charge, and if you try to attack into Tharja's team, well, Anathema can stack up quite a lot of debuffs. Next, Tharja has a new C skill called Pulse Follow Con. At the start of either phase, if any foes within 3 rows or columns have 5 or less res than the user, inflict exposure and discord on those foes. The user will then get bonus attack and speed equal to their max cooldown value times 2. You get 5 flat DR, and last you get minus instant cooldown for your first follow-up attack. Like the status, Pulse Follow is -2 cooldown on the first follow-up. As for Con, that name is a replacement for Ploy. We still have the Ploy res check, but the actual Ploy status is being replaced by Discord. This is another times pulse related skill as well, but obviously you're going to want to use it on higher res units. Additionally, this is an infantry only skill. Now Fitness Tharja has a pretty nasty game plan, but to get the full effects you need to give Anathema to 3 allies. Those allies will get -2 instant cooldown on their first attack and their first follow-up attack thanks to Dour Baton and the Pulse Follow status. On top of cooldown, Tharja gives a good amount of stat support with low. Don't forget about True Charge mobility as well. Now for her own Comet, Tharja gets -3 cooldown from her weapon, which can charge Comet immediately. Tharja's follow-up attack will get -4 instant cooldown due to the Pulse Follow C skill and the Pulse Follow status. That's a second Comet. Now to get to the follow-up, Tharja has the 100% potent hit and denies enemy specials while stacking up a lot of percent and flat DR. If you rely too much on special damage, Tharja is going to be very annoying to finish off. I don't think Tharja needs any other skills, but you could run Demonic Force or Pair Up to neutralize debuffs. Tharja can also use Favor or Dual Support for extra stats and cooldown effects. Silence Ward would also grant -1 cooldown plus Nelsie Disrupt, That could be nice if you want to huddle up and stack Anathema debuffs. Now for specials, Tharja is tailored for Comet's base damage scaling. More attack and more res debuffs will further improve that damage. For Sacred Seal, since Tharja may still take some damage, you could use Desperation for later fights. Back-to-back Comets is possible with that. Now with her annoying Special Denial and percent DR stacking, you could also try Close Transcend for fun. If you stick with Anathema allies, you just stack more debuffs on foes trying to initiate. Basically, if you liked what attuned Tharja had, then this fitness ult is very similar. She does bring a lot more curl support this time though, always fun to mess around with. Next, we have Fitness Eik. He's back to being a sword infantry, and for stats, Eik has 43 HP, 49 attack, 18 speed, 49 defense, and 45 res. Min-max for low speed, and Eik has an attack super boon. For old skills, Eik brings the new hot combo of Rise Above 4 to activate Patience. Like his Harmonic Brave ult, if Eik has a speed bane, he is gonna miss Patience's 30 speed condition. You could patch that up with a Sacred Seal, but just be aware. Now for the Grail Flag, Eik has adopted Alphonse's Great Talent stacking. It's the exact same effect. Eik will give +2 Great Talent attack, defense, and res to allies within 3 walls or columns. After combat, Eik will then give +4 to those stats within the same range. Eik himself will get a +20 Great Talent total, while allies can get a +10 max. Now for other effects, Eik will have Slaying and gets +15 to all stats. He also has low attack and defense to neutralize field buffs. Eik then deals 25 true damage and has 15 Excel type flat DR. Last, Eik will get -2 cooldown on his first follow-up attack, aka Pulse Follow cooldown. So far, nothing too out of the ordinary. On top of Rise Above, Eik stacks Great Talent stats. He may legitimately hit the stat cap. Things will get a bit more spicy with Aether's Route. It's a 5 cooldown special that has 100% defense scaling using Eik or the foe's defense. It also heals 50% max HP. At the start of either phase, Eik will grant his Radiant Hero status and 50% DR piercing to allies within 2 spaces. Like his Brave ult, Eik gives the foe Desperation to use all their attacks first. This is because he gets 40% DR on the first hit taken, and then 70% on pierceable DR on consecutive attacks. Eik is going to get Null Guard, he can counteract anti-healing effects, and he has Nelsie Disrupt to always counter back. As a review, Radiant Hero is a great status that gives distant counter or close counter. You get +5 stats, 10 flat DR, and extra true damage on your own special triggers. Eik will once again be a bulky tank that always counters back. He is nice enough to let the enemy attack first though, thanks to Patience and Desperation. But if Eik survives, he's probably going to trigger as a special, and he'll have his HP. You gotta bring the firepower early on the first hit, or bring Hardy Bearing to make your life easier against this guy. Next, Eik's new inheritable C skill is Defense and Res 10 at Home. This is a melee infantry skill that grants the user Bulwark to block enemy movement. For allies within 2 spaces, 10 at Home gives +6 defense and res and debuff neutralization. For the user only, they will get bonus defense and res based on number of allies within 3 rows or columns. If you have 3 allies in that range, you get +6 defense and res. Last, 10 at Home also comes with 5 true damage and 5 flat DR. 10 at Home is an infantry counterpart to those Hone Cavalry buff and C skills. It's very easy to use and you get some extra stats too. The only downside for this version is that it builds out of Defensive Res 03. That ult skill is only on 5-star units though, so unfortunately you can't get Rise Above 4 and 10 at Home at the same time very easily. If you've been around for the past year, then you've probably run into Harmonic Braver Eik. Fitness Eik has the same general game plan. Rise Above will get Eik to 30 speed exactly, which activates Patience's guaranteed follow-up. You cannot stop this follow-up, and Eik probably triggers Aether's Route thanks to all his cooldown perks. Before we even get to that point though, Eik will let the enemy attack first and he gives them Desperation. Even with his 40% and 70% DR, this is inherently risky. However, if Eik can survive, he will heal 50% HP, and now the guy will get stronger over time thanks to his Great Talent stacking. Eik brings even more stat support via Radiant Hero and 10 at Home. With Bulwark, he can just hold the front line as well. If we're being honest, no one's replacing Rise Above and Patience at this time. 10 at Home is a nice buffing skill, but Eik technically doesn't need it. You could instead use Brittle Tempest for 3 movement and Kanto, or you could go for Instruct. Allies will still only get +10 Great Talent total, but Eik can get them there faster, and Instruct would give him +9 to all stats with 5 true damage and flat DR. If you have a lot of cooldown support, it is also possible for Eik to charge Aether's Route on his first attack. If you can give him a second pulse follow cooldown perk like from Tharja, then I could potentially recharge Eikthyr's route for back-to-back specials. It's very silly, but possible. In fact, I could just run pulse follow Con himself. I mean, he has great talent and Rise Above already, so yeah, good luck out-resing this guy in the first place. For Sacred Seals, I can use Squad Ace for more HP and flat stats if you want. You can use any attack, defense, or res stat boosters, or you could use this spot for Odd or even Tempest. If you want to use Ike aggressively, you can run Hardy Bearing. Yes, it does mess with his 70% DR effect, but if you initiate with Patience, then you get to use your follow-up before the enemy does. Ike can just bop the enemy with his special first before the enemy gets to follow up. Even for enemy phase, Hardy Bearing could stop a Desperation quad attack from happening because Ike just retaliates before that happens. There are trade-offs for Hardy Bearing, but it is an option. In conclusion, if you didn't get Harmonic Brave Ike, Fitness Ike can bring a similar playstyle, plus Radiant Hero is a fun status. At the very least, the guy brings Rise Above and Patience for all your foddering needs. Our last unit for today is Harmonic Female Byleth and Corrin. For this ult, Byleth is a Lance Infantry with 40 HP, 47 attack, 48 speed, 41 defense, and 27 res. She has super boons for speed, defense, and res, although you probably want more speed if possible. For ult skills, Byleth brings Swift Spectre, which is the Kanto plus no follow-up A skill. Byleth's Guiding Lance has a similar great talent effect like Ike. Byleth only gives attack and speed great talent though. For herself, Byleth will have Slang and Distant Counter, she gets plus 15 stats in combat, no guard, 25 true damage, and 15 Excel type flat DR. We covered great talent and everything else is fairly standard, but Byleth also has Sublime Heaven style. This is the same as Brave Male Byleth. It gives a 3 range attack style, Preempt Pulse, and if you face a dragon or beast enemy, you actually get bonus true damage. Byleth may not have her cool whip sword, but I guess she's entering the Javelin Toss event. For her unique special, Byleth has Divine Rumble. This is a 5 cooldown 100% speed scaling special. At start of either phase, except for enemy phase and summoner duels. For allies within 3 spaces, Byleth will hand out a new Professor's Guidance skill and dodge status. She also has a times pulse effect for -1 cooldown. For herself, Byleth gets Speed Preempt. If Byleth outspeeds the enemy, that gives her advantage. Now, for damage reduction, female Byleth has the same 80% DR effect as fallen male Byleth. She gets the 80% unpierceable DR when initiating, or if it's the first fight in enemy phase. Luckily, this only works for first attacks, and then all other hits are still going to get 40% unpierceable DR. Now, the last effect Byleth has is the 100% Potent Condition for an extra hit opportunity. The Professor's Guidance skill status is slightly different from Brave Male Byleth's status. It still grants 2 times SP, plus 5 stats, and -1 cooldown after combat. Instead of the 20% DR effect, female Byleth's version will give 7 true damage and flat DR. Most modern specials are not affected by the 20% DR effect, so yeah, this version is better for the most part. For their Harmonized skill, these two grant Resonance Blades and Shields to allies from 3 houses and fates. Corrin deploys her Vert Terrain on tiles within 3 spaces. There's no Icicle Terrain, but Vert Terrain prevents warping, has Content Control, plus it inflicts -5 attack and speed, guard, and scowl. These Vert tiles also last for 2 turns. If you need to bunker down for a bit, you can use this Harmonized skill to hide in. You can also use it to clear enemy Divine Veins if Byleth is close enough. Byleth has 2 new inheritable skills. I say new, but Counter Dull is kinda just a small upgrade over Brave Male Byleth's Nelsia Void. This skill has a +7 Phantom Speed effect, 80% DR versus AoE specials, and inflicts -4 attack and speed on the foe. It neutralizes enemy field buffs, and it gives Nelsia Disrupt to counter sweep effects. Last, you have 20% speed scaling for true damage and flat DR. The one main upgrade over Nelsia Void is that you get lull to neutralize field buffs. The other change is that technically the true damage portion is better if you have more than 75 speed. Now, Counter Dull still builds out of velocity, which you can now get from Lamia. If you like Nelsia Void, then yeah, this is an upgrade, but most of the skill is still the same. Byleth's other new skill is the attack and speed version of Tenant Home, which we covered earlier. We just switched to attack and speed field buffs and in-combat buffs. Everything else is the same. Now, this skill builds out of attack and speed 03. Unlike the Defense and Res 03, this one is super available on free-to-play units. You can actually get all 3 of Byleth's skills fairly easily. For their general playstyle, Harmonic Byleth sets Divine Rumble with a 3 cooldown for every fight, and she can initiate from 3 spaces away thanks to her style. This gives Preempt Pulse, and with no guard, Byleth should trigger Divine Rumble on her follow-up attack if the foe counters back. She also has the 100% potent hit for insurance. To reach her follow-up, Byleth gets that disgusting 80% unpierceable DR, and she also stacks dodge on top just to be funny. After combat, Byleth's guidance skill status would give -1 cooldown to reset her special. Then in an enemy phase, Byleth would have the 80% DR for one fight, and she has distant counter, Nelsie disrupt, and Vanish. Byleth probably isn't going to trigger special immediately, but she gets to go first, just like when she initiates. This means she can follow up first, and thus trigger her special again. Do note for enemy phasing, Byleth will need 3 hits including her potent hit to trigger that Divine Rumble special. Now like other units, Byleth's base kit is very good, but she is more open to switching skills around if you really want. Technically, Byleth doesn't need Kanto, so you could use Rise Above and get no follow-up from elsewhere. She could run Pair Up to not get outsped, or you technically could use Taker Burst to stack great talent even faster. Byleth could also go for the Favor and or Instructing route like her Emblem counterpart. Now, if Byleth can get 3 movement from like Tempest skills, she would have a 6 space range thanks to her style. You could also use something like Secret's Ring if you really wanted to replace Spectre. Basically, Byleth should be open to inheriting any better skills in the future. Counter Doe fits her distant counter and Vanish perks though, not to mention Counter Doe plus 10 at home gets rid of any stat advantages for the enemy. Bulwark is also good for frontlining. It is a pretty good combo to keep. As far as Sacred Seals go, any attack and speed booster is fine. You could use the Tempest Seals or no follow-up here, and maybe Byleth could use Mystic Boost as healing. Healing support would make her even more annoying to finish off. All in all, another solid Byleth ult. The easiest way to get around her 80% damage reduction is to outspeed her, and hit her with a strong follow-up. That is only going to get tougher though if you let her stack great talent. Now, summer may be cancelled like our Tempest Trials Heroic Rail units, but we still have an accompanying Tempest Trials event. This is the start of the Book 7 Tempest Trials side story. Things went from 0 to 100 real fast. Basically, as the title of the event states, Eikthyrnir has another daughter with us, I guess. Groa is another daughter from the future, and if you click on her title, there is a little hint at another new character we'll see later on. I won't spoil the surprise here. As a unit, Groa is a flying blue mage with fairly typical offensive stats. Her weapon inflicts speed and res debuffs with sabotage and exposure, plus it also applies times grip. That does not end a unit's turn, but it does inflict -4 stats and acts like feud. It prevents the user's support skills from helping allies during their combat. Now, Groa also gets Kanto distance and an extra action after using Kanto. She has Slaying, plus 15 stats, 25 true damage, 15 flat DR, and last, she has good old Desperation. Considering she is Eikthyrnir's daughter and Eikthyrnir just got her refined, I'm expecting her personal skill to get a lot more wild effects. So far, Groa doesn't seem too crazy, but we'll see what else she gets later on. Onto the Tempest Trials rewards. This month we are getting Summer Ivy. She's a flying green mage with high attack and res. Ivy has Slaying and can warp near her support partner if they're within 3 spaces. She then has a 3 condition effect that checks if 1. She's initiating, 2. She's within 2 spaces of her support partner, and 3. If the foe has any penalty active. If you have 2 of those conditions, Ivy gets Brave attacks. If you meet all 3, Ivy also gets bonus true damage. Now to inflict her own penalties, Ivy has Stillwater 4 to trigger Sabotage attack and res 3. For team mobility, she has the still pretty decent Soaring Guidance. Sure, Hold Guide may exist, but ranged flyers don't get to use that. 2 space warping for infantry flyers is still good utility to have. Moving on to Sacred Seals, you can get low attack and defense 3, -3 attack and defense on the foe, and you neutralize their attack and defense field buffs during combat. Low skills aren't super crazy, but it usually doesn't hurt to get rid of the enemy's field buffs. If you only care about dealing with attack and defense, and you don't need other combative effects, then it's an alright Sacred Seal option. Next, Rouse attack and res 3 states. At start of turn, if you're not adjacent to any ally, you get +6 attack and res for 1 turn. Rouse self buffs are a bit tougher to use because you must be completely alone. Sometimes you can't avoid being next to one ally, and as such, I would only use these if you really need the field buffs for whatever reason. Personally, it's not my first choice to upgrade. Last, not from the Tempest Trials, but from the 108 Squad Assault, we have Squad Ace DD3. This grants +4 attack, speed, and res as flat stats. It's a simple stat booster if you don't need HP, and it's an upgrade over Squad Ace, BZ, CJ, and CT. That'll be it for this year's second summer banner. I can safely say I did not expect them to get rid of more swimsuit ults, considering we are literally about to get a new cast of Fire Emblem characters. I'm curious what they plan to do for next year. If you're going to be summoning, then I wish you good luck. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.